Without the Infinity Gauntlet on his wrist, Galactus would completely smash Thanos. He is an entity that operates without regard to the morality or judgments of mortals, and drains living planets of their energy, feeding his insatiable hunger. A literal living force of nature, Galactus has a mastery over the power cosmic, which means he has universal cosmic awareness, is capable of telepathy and telekinesis, the transmutation of matter, the creation of force fields, energy projection, size alteration, the creation of life, resurrections, creation of interdimensional portals, the ability to manipulate souls, memories, and emotions, and can even cause mass-scale events like recreating dead worlds or destroy multiple solar systems. Yeah. All in all, Galactus is wickedly strong. He's proven to have very few weaknesses, one of which is the Ultimate Nullifier, an object that is capable of destroying and remaking the universe, so all things considered, yeah, he's a tough one to go up against. Definitely need a few stones to take on him. In at number 9, Molecule Man. Owen Reese, aka Molecule Man, has two incredibly strong powers: reality warping and molecular manipulation. While sometimes he's a bit of a reluctant hero, the character, including during his introduction story arc, was a villain. First appearing in Fantastic Four issue 20 in 1963, Molecule Man, according to Dr. Doom and Reed Richards, is a multiversal composite entity, a single creature that manifests fractions of its entire being in each universe that's a part of the Marvel multiverse. Yeah, whoa. In the Ultimates universe, Galactus believes that Reese is capable of destroying him with a single thought. He is a living bomb, capable of destroying the entire universe that he's inhabiting if he dies. That's just something Thanos, sans Infinity Gauntlet, would have a real tough time taking on. And at number 8, Akhenaten. Akhenaten is one of the several godlike deities that appear on our list, and his defeat of Thanos in the comics takes a slightly different turn than most. While he may not win the battle, he does kind of win the war, or the long run. Okay, so let's jump back for a sec. For starters, Akhenaten is from Earth 4321, in which he was enlisted into the aid of the Celestial Order. Thanos is all like, damn, I want his power, and manages to reach the source of it, which is the heart of the universe. He claims the power for himself, which ends up writing Akhenaten and the Order out of history, but it severely backfires on him, and he ends up sacrificing himself to set the universe right, with no one ever knowing that he was responsible for doing so. Such a classic Thanos move. But if we were to look at this from purely a versus perspective, Akhenaten and Thanos, who have fought in the past, are pretty much evenly matched, but only when Thanos has the power from the heart of the universe. Were he to face off against 616 Thanos, that might be a different story. Plus, it was Dr. Doom who eventually managed to erase Akhenaten from history, although arguably that was all part of Thanos' master plan. Dude has this ex-Pharaoh beat intellectually, that's for sure. And at number 7, Amatsu Mikaboshi. Amatsu Mikaboshi, also known as the Chaos King, is a demonic god of evil, best known for fighting Thor and Hercules in the panels of Marvel Comics. Based off of gods from Japanese mythology, the character first appeared in Thor Blood Oath issue 6 in 2006. Mikaboshi existed billions of years ago before Earth had formed, reigning the dark primordial void that existed before it. When Shinto gods populated this space, Mikaboshi was enraged and was forced to live in the Netherworld, remaining there for centuries. So, what can the Chaos King do? Well, he's got demonic mystical powers. He can shapeshift. He can travel through dimensions. He is immortal. He can absorb and enslave anything and anyone into void, which also includes immortals. He's telepathic. He can manipulate matter and souls. He can control the undead and can resurrect the dead, and to top it all off, he has the ability to destroy and absorb universes. Oh joy. Mikaboshi is actually one aspect of Oblivion, but more on that fellow later. It'll all make sense, I promise. And at number 6, the Beyonder. The Beyonder first appeared in the comics in Secret Wars issue 1 back in 1984, orchestrating the events of that story arc, having captured the heroes and villains of the Marvel Universe, forcing them to duke it out on a planet called Battleworld. The character was initially an unseen self-declared omnipotent entity, but later would take the form of a Caucasian human male. Cause nothing screams power like a Caucasian human male. So what can the Beyonder do? Well, for starters, he's an infinite dimensional entity that has near omnipotence and is omnipresent in the Beyond realm. So essentially he's super OP, and often, much like Thanos, his one weakness is himself, often being portrayed as emotionally fragile. Over time in the comics, after his initial appearances, he was downgraded somewhat, with other cosmic entities having gotten a bit of an upgrade to make them higher up on the power chain than he was. But regardless, he's still capable of warping reality, manipulating and controlling matter and energy, and reality at a cosmic level that is at minimum on par with some of the strongest cosmic entities out there in the Marvel Universe. And at 5, the Phoenix Force. Another powerful entity. The Phoenix Force is a cosmic entity that first appeared in Uncanny X-Men issue 101 back in October of 1976. It's an entity that has vast abilities when it comes to manipulating matter and energy, along with powerful psionic abilities that include telepathy and telekinesis. It has cosmic awareness and presence. In addition to that, perhaps the deadliest of its powers is the fact that it can manipulate manipulate life force, something that it can tap into reserves of for future generations, ultimately denying those generations existence. It migrates through time and space by collapsing itself into somewhat of a black hole and reforming upon its destination. And with powers of that variation, the exact extent of them is unknown. If its avatar or host is harmed or killed, it will form an egg of cosmic power, incubate, and then hatch, completely healed. So yeah, pretty darn powerful. In at number 4, the Goblin Entity. Also known as the Goblin Force, this entity exists on Earth 1298 and was born at the beginning of reality during the Big Bang. On its Earth, it's stronger than the Phoenix Force and has limitless power, along with an insatiable hunger, which allows it to absorb massive amounts of energy from cosmic level entities, which include the Celestials, the Beyonder, and Galactus. The extent of the Goblin Entity's powers are unknown, but we do know it is the nexus of all psionic energy. It's telekinetic, telepathic, is considered one of the greatest spellcasters in the universe. It's immortal, shocker there, can manipulate on a cosmic level to destroy planets and galaxies, it can transmigrate through time and space, it can manipulate matter on a subatomic level, it can teleport, and it has complete control over time. So yeah, Thanos has got a bit of a run for his money there. And at number 3, Oblivion. Oblivion is often considered to be one of the foremost powerful beings in the Marvel Comics. A cosmic entity who came into existence with the creation of the universe, Oblivion hasn't made much of a fuss in the comics to date. So to be fair, we've really yet to see the true range of his abilities in action. But needless to say, his power reaches awesome levels. Oblivion represents the inevitable end of all things, hence his name. He is capable of manifesting wherever he desires and can empower others with his abilities if he so chooses. He's omnipotent. He has infinite cosmic powers. He's also Death's brother of sorts. Not that Thanos would really feel any familial obligations to him, but you know, you never know. And at number 2, Magus. Magus is one of Adam Warlock's most dreadful foes. That's because he is Warlock. He's a version of the character from a corrupted version of the future, in which he is the leader of an oppressive religious empire called the Universal Church of Truth, and is treated as God. Warlock manages to alter his timeline so that he'll never become Magus, but the character has still made multiple appearances over the years. Now according to Kesar, he is the universal counterbalance to Warlock, existing as his negative dark half, capable of all the things that Warlock is capable of. He can manipulate energy, absorb life force, he's a cosmic sorcerer. His most recent resurrection allows him to use quantum magic with his energy being rejuvenated by raw magic energy and souls, which means he can manipulate time and transmute reality. All of that and much more. Considering Warlock's history with Thanos and the fact that he's even worked together with the Mad Titan when Magus threatens both of them, Magus is a threat to not be taken lightly. Plus he's managed to defeat Thanos in the past in personal combat, so not looking too great for the Mad Titan there. And finally, in at number 1, Death. Death tops this list for very obvious reasons. Aside from being one of the most powerful entities in the entire Marvel multiverse, Thanos has a particular weakness when it comes to death. Arguably, Death even has an advantage over the Mad Titan when he's donning the Infinity Gauntlet because of this. So, Thanos is in love with Death. Thanos' motivation in many of his storylines in the comics is to prove himself worthy of Death's affections. Thanos rarely manages to win Death's love either. Death is often at the core of Thanos' self-doubt, or at least a catalyst to him feeling wildly insecure, which has proven to be his downfall on many occasions, even when he had the gauntlet in his possession. Nothing like love to f you right up, right Thanos?
Away from him. First and foremost, I think it's pretty clear that one main goal of the good guys is going to be to get the Infinity Stones away from Thanos, assuming they're not depleted. Even without them, he's a big threat, but if the Avengers can grab a few of them away, especially the Time Stone, it would really help to swing the tides in their favor. And if you can get them away from Thanos, the next step is number 9, wielding the stones. This is definitely one of the most obvious ways to beat the guy. Even if they're not able to get all 6 stones, Earth's heroes will definitely have their hearts set on using some in the next film. Pretty much any of the stones could be used to take out Thanos under the right circumstances, and we know that some characters would be able to wield them, especially with some super powerful heroes on their way like Captain Marvel. Which brings me to my next point, number 8, the Illuminati. In the comics, we saw the covert group made up of powerful heroes called the Illuminati. Members included Iron Man, Black Bolt, Reed Richards, Namor, Xavier, and Doctor Strange. At one point, they were each given one of the Infinity Gems for safekeeping. Now, obviously, we probably won't be seeing all the original members since some haven't been introduced and others are currently dust, but if the good guys got their hands on a bunch of the gems, the MCU Illuminati would definitely be able to take out Thanos. Number 7, rebuilding the Gauntlet. Another option, if the heroes manage to get their hands on one or more of the Infinity Stones, is to reforge the Gauntlet. The first one seems to be pretty much dead, but if they were to return to Nidavellir and forge a new one, it could be another story, and they could definitely wield it. We've seen Nebula and Captain Marvel using the Gauntlet in the comics, comics, and the real trick is getting the stones in the first place. Number 6. Cosmic Cubes. Cosmic Cubes are kinda like better rounded Infinity Stones. They're not as powerful at the specific thing, but they're more generally usable. Cosmic Cubes are cube-shaped matrices that essentially grant the wishes of their user. There are many scattered around the universe, and more can even be created by opening a rift to the dimension of the Beyonders. Of course, comic fans will know that Cosmic Cubes don't hold a candle to the full power of the Infinity Gauntlet, but with the gauntlet looking pretty rough, a cube could be enough to do the job. Number 5. Teamwork. Duh. I'm talking about all these powerful items to wield and whatnot, but it's looking like Thanos won't have the gauntlet anymore, which means his powers will be quite limited. Before completing the gauntlet, we saw small teams of heroes fight against him with some success, and it seems that if the gauntlet was destroyed, his powers would be somewhat similar to that. So if a bunch of high-powered heroes hit at once, they could potentially take him without the aid of the Infinity Stones. Number 4. Adam Warlock. I've been calling for Adam Warlock to come for so long, and I think the longer the stones are around, the more likely he is to appear, and he could definitely stop Thanos with the help of his trusty dusty Soul Stone. In the comics, Adam managed to turn Thanos to stone by absorbing his soul into the Soul Gem, and this sounds like a pretty great ending for Avengers 4, since we could end up with Thanos greeting little Gamora in the Soul Gem and walking off hand in hand. I may or may not have gotten goosebumps when I thought of it. Number 3. Captain Marvel. Assuming the heroes will be facing off against Thanos, it seems pretty much certain that Captain Marvel will be instrumental in his defeat. She certainly has the power, she's the most powerful character in the MCU apparently. Plus the original Captain Marvel, Marvel, has even killed Thanos before. He defeated the Mad Titan in Captain Marvel number 33, and that was while Thanos was powered up by a particularly powerful cosmic cube. So it seems safe to say that Carol Danvers will be a significant part of his defeat. Number 2. Diplomacy. Most people are thinking about Avengers 4 and trying to figure out how to kill Thanos, but as Squirrel Girl taught us when she saved the world from Galactus, sometimes just chatting can be even more effective than fighting. Many believe that this may well be the reason Doctor Strange needed Tony alive, because if ever there was someone to charm Thanos, it's Tony, especially since Thanos seems to respect him. This kinda brings us to our final point. Number 1. They may not have to beat him at all. Another theory that I personally love is that the Avengers won't actually beat Thanos. It's possible that a bigger villain will come that will turn the attention of the Avengers away from Thanos in order to defend the world and universe from yet another threat. It's possible that Thanos will even jump into action to defend the universe and will maybe sacrifice himself in the process. That's my theory at least. It could be that the Avengers won't need to have a direct hand in his defeat if a bigger villain does their work for them.
Netflix Avengers are filled with an interesting cast of characters. Some of them arguably fall into dumb territory, while others definitely have their uses. I mean, they're a team that received 2 cease and desist letters concerning their team name, and went through multiple other changes because of various preferences. They called themselves the Great Lakes X-Men when they realized they were all mutants, which Marvel Girl was not having. Anywho, their leader is Mr. Immortal, and his main power is that he is immortal. But his immortality is via resurrection, meaning he can die and then die again and come back to life continuously. So what does that mean for Thanos? Well, he can literally pull a much slower version of what the MCU Doctor Strange did with Dormammu, but to Thanos instead. And Thanos will eventually get tired of him enough to listen to his requests, maybe? But where this next character goes, Mr. Immortal is never too far behind. And at number 9, Dinosaur. Mr. Immortal's love interest. She's also a dinosaur-themed superhero, and a member of the West Coast Avengers who first appeared in 1989. So how would she defeat Thanos? By utterly baffling him. Look at her. How do you not look at that costume and think, wow, I never thought I'd see something that would make me dislike dinosaurs. But there she is, wearing a costume that looks like she crawled out of some sort of weird fetish porn website. Of course, her presence would be used as a sacrificial lamb of sorts, being a distraction for a few seconds while Thanos is like, what the fuck? Giving the real heroes, who actually stand a chance at defeating him, a small window to take a shot at him and end his reign of terror. But hey, distractions are important too, and she could legitimately be one. She has an empathetic calming power, which could kinda help in that situation. Up next, number 8, Molecule Man. Owen Reese has an incredibly useful power. He can manipulate molecules mentally, and can create the likes of energy beams, force fields, and hyperspace portals. He can also warp reality on a multiversal scale, so he's essentially a walking talking reality gem of sorts, which gives him at least a decent shot at defeating Thanos. Up next at number 7, Bible Man. Oh, as Bible Man's story goes, a man named Miles Peterson was a wealthy dude who had success and fame, but he wasn't too happy, and after he aggressively tosses himself onto the ground in anguish, he discovers a Bible covered in mud, and then discovers within himself a burning desire to know God, and fight evil in the name of the Lord. So you probably know where this is going. Bible Man would obviously use the power of scripture to teach Thanos the way of the Lord and turn him away from doing any evil. I mean, according to the logic of Bible Man's world, it's totally plausible. Maybe not so much in the Marvel universe though. Up next, number 6, Leather Boy. Obviously, he would dominate Thanos into submitting. And at number 5, Sonic the Hedgehog. Alright, so hear me out. Sonic is basically the hedgehog version of Thanos. When he collects all the Chaos Emeralds, he turns into Super Sonic and is unstoppable. And hey, look at all the weird crap that Sonic has defeated in the past. Chaos, Solaris, Infinite, Dark Gaia, all of those other wild, weird robotic concoctions that Eggman has thrown his way. Yeah, it's sheer insanity that a blue hedgehog who runs fast could defeat any of those villains that he encounters in his later games that go beyond Robotnik's inventions. So yeah, I'd bank on him pulling some Deus Ex Machina crap and saving the day from Thanos' takeover. And at number 4, He-Man. He-Man has got a whole lot of power. Super speed, indestructible skin, and super strength that doesn't have a stated limit. He once lifted Castle Grayskull and tossed it through a dimensional doorway. So yeah, dude has some power. He also pushed a moon into a specific orbit and later returned it to its previous position by hand. He's considered to be the strongest man in the universe. But the best thing about He-Man is that he considers violence to be the last resort, meaning if he came across Thanos, he'd be more inclined to approach the villain with other peaceful solutions before fighting him. And considering how cheesy Prince Adam can be, he may actually manage to reach out to the Mad Titan. Thanos could boast that he has the Infinity Gauntlet, He-Man could announce that he has the power, and then they could have a pleasant little chat about it. I mean, who could resist those muscles, luscious blonde hair, and that boy next door charm? Not Dion. Definitely not Dion. Up next at 3, Goku. Goku can become a god. The Dragon Ball hero seemingly has an unlimited amount of power that he can draw from, and if you've seen any of our Versus videos, you know that he's next to impossible to defeat, which is why he is on this list. Goku can even defeat Superman, and the Man of Steel is practically invincible himself. The Saiyan is pretty much a trump card when it comes to hypothetical battles, but in all seriousness, Goku has powers that are pretty equivalent to Captain Marvel's, and considering Marvel has a history of taking on the Mad Titan and has defeated him in the past, we're pretty sure Goku may find a way. Up next at number 2, Matter Eater Lad. Dude eats matter. He can literally consume anything. His abilities allow him to bite through and consume all forms of matter, including matter that is supposedly indestructible. That means he could literally bite Thanos' head off if the Mad Titan wasn't watching his back or let his guard down. Ah, Matter Eater Lad. So much potential. And last but not least, in at number 1, Squirrel Girl. Perhaps the most legit ridiculous hero who could put an end to Thanos is Squirrel Girl. She's definitely got quite the track record. She's defeated Galactus through alternate means, and has defeated Dr. Doom twice. Once with squirrels, which made for one of the best panels ever, and the second by using her intellect rather than furry friends. So she stands a chance of possibly breaking through to Thanos in an unconventional way. I mean, I don't think the squirrels will cut it this time around, but perhaps an appeal of a different sort could do the trick. Regardless, she's an underrated yet overhyped hero, and we wouldn't put it past her to pull a move like ending Thanos' galactic threat via a little bit of empathy and kindness. And squirrel friends. They're so cute. Oh, and also she's actually defeated Thanos once. In the Great Lakes Avengers Holiday issue and GLX Special 2005, it happens off panel, implying that she's defeated him armed with only her squirrel pal Tippy Toe, who is also a Great Lakes Avenger and is also a squirrel.
Manhattan. We all remember Dr. Manhattan and his godlike abilities displayed in the DC film The Watchmen. Manhattan naturally as a result of suffering an accident causing his body to explode when hit by an intrinsic field generator, he then possessed the ability to reconstruct his former being, teleport, travel through dimensions, and control the hands of time. All of this without even wearing a glove. You know, with the fancy stones. This means that if the two were to go face to face, Manhattan poses a real threat to Thanos. Number 9, Neo from the Matrix. Famously, once Neo harnessed his abilities, he was able to avoid even bullets, making him a god within his world. Neo possesses the source of the Matrix code. Within that, it kind of makes him part of the Matrix. And even if Thanos tried to utilize the Infinity Gauntlet, he would fall short because 1, Neo is the world he inhabits, and 2, the Infinity Gauntlet would not even be in the universe in which it was created. Number 8, Legion. Legion is the son of Professor X and considered an Omega mutant. He is extremely dangerous not only because he can change the fabric of reality, but he also is a time traveler. The most threatening thing about Legion would be his split personalities, which all contain different powers and at a moment's notice can completely take him over. That being said, he could defeat Thanos and not even be in control of the destruction. He has already displayed his resume for disaster many times in the X-Men cinematic universe when he fought against Division 3 without hesitation, and when he took down an entire army by sinking them into concrete. Nothing like a little concrete quicksand to get the job done, am I right? Number 7, the Hulk. Although the Hulk is a bit of a risk because of his constant changes back and forth from Banner to the Green Machine. Now if you remember in the Avengers Infinity War movie, the Hulk refused to come out no matter how many times Banner needed his assistance. This left fans believing that maybe the Hulk was scared in some way to face Thanos. However, in the comics, Thanos mentions a bunch of times that he actively tries to avoid fighting the Hulk. Now I don't know how far the Hulk would get if Thanos still has the Infinity Gauntlet, but this fear of conflict that he has with the Hulk could suggest that he poses a real threat to his power. Plus, he did get some really great shots after a surprise attack in the Avengers Infinity War. Roll the clip. Number 6, Batman. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Batman's human, there's no way he could defeat a god like Thanos, especially with the Infinity Gauntlet. But don't count the Dark Knight out on this one. Batman has one of the highest IQs within the DC universe, and has proven time and time again that he can hold his own. If Batman is allowed some sort of prep time beforehand, he would find a way to trick Thanos and defeat him. I mean, he already has some pretty great wins on his resume, which include defeating Superman, Green Lantern, Darkseid, and even the entire Justice League. Number 5, the Sky Fathers. Now the Sky Fathers are a council of godheads that consist of Odin, Zeus, Vishnu, Amun-Ra, Osiris, God, who you may remember from such classics as the Bible, and many more mythological deities. In the comics, they were trapped by Thanos on Asgard, stopping them in their tracks. However, if they appeared in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we could see this ragtag team of gods knock Thanos down a peg. Number 4, Darkseid. Darkseid is essentially the DC Universe equivalent to Marvel's Thanos, with his own Infinity Gauntlet powers derived from the anti-life equation, cool name, and the mother boxes. Darkseid could pose a real threat to Thanos because of his ability to manipulate him just at will. Plus, using the Omega effect, he can shoot freaking laser beams from his eyes that can literally erase any living object from existence. Number 3, Lucifer Morningstar. Lucifer Morningstar is one of the most powerful super beings in the DC universe. If DC and Marvel ever have a crossover at any point, Lucifer could definitely take down Thanos, even with the Infinity Gauntlet at hand. As an immortal angel, he has many abilities, including manipulating dimensions, becoming invisible, super speed, and even invulnerability. Those are just a few that I named, but he possesses so much more that would leave Thanos shaking in his boots. Number 2, the Living Tribunal. The Living Tribunal has always had the power to defeat Thanos, but in the Infinity Gauntlet run, he decided not to act on Thanos' destruction of the universe, mainly because they had the same goals in mind. However, we know that Living Tribunal can sway his opinion after Doctor Strange stopped him from destroying Earth because good still existed on our little blue planet. If he changes his mind about how Thanos is running the universe, the Living Tribunal could easily interfere with his master plan. Number 1, Iro Ilúvatar. That's right, Lord of the Rings fans, I hear ya. Iro is our number 1 spot. That's because only a god can defeat another god. While the Infinity Gauntlet gives whoever wears it godlike abilities, Iro is a god all on his own. They created the world, angels, elves, humans, and everything that resides in Middle Earth from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. This god has incomprehensible power and has intervened many times in the universe of Middle Earth, most notably when Frodo Baggins failed to destroy the ring in The Return of the King. Iro, or the One, intervened in the world through Gandalf when he made a remark to Frodo that Bilbo was meant to find the ring and not by its maker, which led to the inevitable destruction of the ring despite Frodo, well, not being able to get the job done. Now when it comes to Thanos, who operates in a physical form, he will be absolutely no match for this Lord of the Rings god.
Nothing like Zombie Hulk to start off a list. In Marvel Zombies 2, penned by zombie expert Robert Kirkman, things get a little heated between Zombie Hulk and Zombie Thanos. When Thanos calls out the Hulk for overeating their resources, Hulk reacts the only way that his zombified self knows how, and that's to smash. Smash Thanos' head, that is. He justifies it by saying that now Hulk can eat for 2, eating Prunchin's food. Problem solved. Oh, Prunchin. And at number 9, Drax the Destroyer. In the comics, Drax is literally created to defeat Thanos. Initially, he was a human named Arthur Douglas, whose family was killed by Thanos when the Mad Titan was scouting Earth. The being Kronos then took Arthur's spirit and placed it into a new body, and he became Drax. He first appeared in 1973 in Iron Man number 55, 5 and would battle Thanos on multiple occasions, but one occasion in particular he brutally bested the Mad Titan by ripping out his heart. This took place during the Annihilation event, when Thanos sided with supervillain Annihilus, the Lord of the Negative Zone. Thanos had kidnapped Moondragon and used her to lure Drax to him, with interesting consequences. And at number 8, Adam Warlock. Back in 1977's Avengers Annual Volume 1 Issue 7, Thanos had returned in a new story where he tries to snuff out the universe. Typical Thanos. With the Avengers and Captain Marvel, Adam Warlock battles the Mad Titan, which results in him falling and being sucked into his soul gem. Flash forward to Marvel 2-in-1 Annual number 2. Spider-Man unknowingly frees Adam Warlock from the gem, and Adam ain't happy. Likely this goes down during another battle with Thanos, and out of revenge, Adam turns him into solid granite. This would be the end of Thanos for 13 whole years until the rebirth of Thanos story arc in 1990. Up next in our number 7 spot, Thane. At the end of the Infinity story arc, Thane, who is Thanos' son, who Thanos had been low-key searching the universe for, is found by one of the members of the Black Order, Ebony Maw. Maw betrays Thanos and the Black Order by working with Thane, which results in a climatic battle that has Thane freezing Thanos and Proxima Midnight into an amber casing that leaves them in a state of living death. Whew. Thanos had feared Thane and wanted him dead. Guess that makes sense now. Thane was the key to saving Earth from Thanos, so many are curious to see what will go down in Infinity War without the character's presence, assuming that he isn't in it, that is. Nothing like being put down by a family member. Up next, number 6, Thor. In Thor Volume 2, issue number 25, Thor hammers the life out of Thanos. Seems a little harsh, eh? Well, as the story goes, Thor is on an unknown icy planet and encounters Thanos, and gets some new weapons endowed with Odin power, which he uses to bash Thanos' face in. But turns out that the Thanos that he battled was just a clone who had been given some of Thanos' powers. You win some, you lose some. And at number 5, Deadpool. Thanos and Deadpool share something in common. They both have the hots for death. So in Deadpool vs Thanos number 4, the two hash it out, with Death watching. Deadpool had been endowed with the power Cosmic, and persuades Death to ditch Thanos, because he argues that Thanos also serves life, leaving a very heartbroken Thanos. And at number 4, Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl has pulled off some pretty impressive feats, especially when you consider that she has been a severely underrated character for quite some time. In GLXmas number 1, a Great Lakes Avengers holiday issue, Squirrel Girl defeats Thanos with the help of a squirrel, and it's witnessed by the Watcher, who confirms that in fact it was the real Thanos she defeated. But unfortunately the attack itself was off panel. Considering the success rate that she's had with other villains like Doctor Doom and Galactus, I trust that Squirrel Girl definitely did him in. Up next, number 3, Captain Marvel. The original Captain Marvel, aka Marvel, had some serious beef with Thanos when he was alive. While the Captain Marvel will be getting his showstopper Brie Larson as Carol Danvers, her predecessor was a fearsome foe for Thanos in the comics. In Captain Marvel number 33, Thanos has the Cosmic Cube in his possession, and he managed to make the entire Earth population disappear. Alongside Drax and Mantis, Marvel goes after Thanos, and the two have a struggle over the cube, with Marvel risking his life to destroy it. Its destruction reverses everything Thanos did, and makes his life forfeit to Death. Speaking of, in at number 2, Lady Death. Death is the reason why Thanos does everything he does. He wants to be worthy of her. So of course that meant acquiring more power, which meant invading and conquering. But that slowly turned into the annihilation of the universe. Bit of a jump. She's the only one he's ever really loved. And after his loss to Marvel, the Mad Titan was rejected by Death due to his failure. Death defeats him in a very different way than other characters we've discussed on this list. Yet perhaps Death's rejection is the most impactful and damaging to Thanos. And finally, in at number 1, himself. Thanos' biggest obstacle is himself. He has a subconscious desire to lose, and often set himself up to fail. During his reign with the Infinity Gauntlet, the character had managed to pretty much squash any threat, except he ignored Nebula, his grandniece in the comics and daughter in the MCU, who managed to remove the gauntlet from his hand. Adam Warlock would later realize that Thanos met his end and lost the gauntlet due to his own self-doubt and anxiety. He also just has a habit of giving up. Thanos just doesn't deem himself worthy. He's so tragic. Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is an underrated hero who, in contemporary times, has become an increasingly beloved fan favorite. She has quite the track record too. She's defeated Doctor Doom. She's defeated Galactus. Not too shabby for a girl who can communicate with adorable tree-loving rodents. And of course, she's defeated Thanos, much to his dismay. How exactly that happened, we'll never really know. It occurred entirely off-panel, with the Watcher confirming what went down while Thanos lays on the ground knocked out. Surely that's something the big purple guy is embarrassed over. In at number 9, Hulk. While most of the numbers on our list pertain to the comics, let's take a gander at the MCU. One of the characters who annoys Thanos quite a bit in the cinematic universe is none other than Bruce Banner's Hulk. Just take a look at the beginning of Infinity War and you'll see why. Thanos tosses the giant green monster around like he's a toy, annoyed that he has to beat him down in order to finish up with the Asgardian refugee ship they're on. Then when Hulk is teleported over to Earth, he tells everyone that Thanos is coming and ruins Thanos' chance for a surprise attack. Yeah, I'd be pissed off at Banner too if I were in his big old purple shoes. In at number 8, Thor. Speaking of characters in the MCU who off Thanos, Thor is definitely up there on that list. Dude literally almost killed him. Sorry, spoiler alert, but really, you probably should have seen Infinity War by now. Clicking on a Thanos themed video is not doing you any favors in that department. Anywho, Thanos gets the last laugh in this situation, which really grinds Thor's gears. Lots of gear grinding in this video. Needless to say, we're all hoping for a confrontation between the two in Endgame. And Thanos isn't going to let his near-death experience slide. And at number 7, Thane. Thane is Thanos' son. And guess what, friends? He does not have the same ideologies as Daddy Dearest. So you probably know where this is going. In the comics, Thane is an inhuman character who is revealed in the Infinity story arc. Essentially, Thanos hooked up with an inhuman woman, got her pregnant, and then she ran away after Thanos and his army destroyed her tribe. Thanos would search for his long-lost son years later, using his Black Order to raise planets in search of the child, which eventually led him to Earth. Ebony Maw found the boy, built him a suit to contain his powers, and then tried to manipulate him into becoming the ruler of the universe. And finally, when Thane and Thanos do come into contact, Thane traps his father in a pocket limbo stasis. Yeah, that's gonna make Thanksgiving real awkward for the two of them. And at number 6, Mar-Vell. Mar-Vell perhaps has one of the longest histories with Thanos on this list. Now, the very first iteration of Captain Marvel, Mar-Vell, fought against Thanos in the 70s, teaming up with Thanos' father, Mentor, and Eros in a conflict over the Cosmic Cube. Thanos gets a hold of the cube, and when his spirit leaves his body, Mar-Vell uses that as an opportunity to shatter the cube, ultimately undoing Thanos' actions. Later, when Captain Marvel was killed off via cancer in 1982, in The Death of Captain Marvel, a vision of Thanos would come to him, not as an enemy, but as a guide into the afterlife. So, all in all, despite being one of each other's greatest foes in the comics, the two did make amends. But back in the day, this Kree fighter was one hell of an antagonist to the Mad Titan. And at 5, Khazar. And perhaps one of the strangest enemies Thanos has ever faced, Khazar in Volume 2 of his self-titled series, in issues 7 to 11 from 1998, faces off against the Mad Titan and manages to defeat him. Now, alright, for context, let's talk. Khazar, if you didn't know, is a character who first debuted in the X-Men issue 10 back in 1965. But before then, he appeared in pulp magazines and in Timely Comics, Marvel's predecessor, making his debut in 1939. There's been 2 iterations. The second iteration is the one who fought Thanos. He's essentially Tarzan meets a caveman. Yeah. So the two fought over top a cavern filled with lava, with Khazar dramatically kicking Thanos into said lava after thinking about how much he loved his son, which apparently gave him the energy to break free of Thanos' grip. All in all, it was a bit of a strange story, and Thanos would constantly refer to Khazar as a savage. In at number 4, Lockjaw. Thanos' encounter with Lockjaw definitely tops the list of the Mad Titan's most humiliating battles. Once upon a time, Lockjaw was the leader of the Pet Avengers. Yes, this is a thing that exists. The team would come across the Infinity Stones, and naturally, Thanos, wanting to take them for himself, would attempt to steal them away from this adorable group of crime fighters. Lockjaw uses the power of the stones to kick Thanos' butt and then sends the Mad Titan to another dimension, which all of his little furry friends love. Not like actual furries, like one of them's a cat. Another one's like a frog. It's a whole thing. They're all animals, yay. And at number 3, Drax. While some of you may be familiar with Drax's vendetta against Thanos in the MCU, those of you who are familiar with the comics know that the character has had quite the history with the Mad Titan, right down to his very creation. Created by Jim Starlin, who also created Thanos, Drax the Destroyer first appeared in the Invincible Iron Man issue 55 back in 1973, the same issue as the Mad Titan's introduction. Drax was a human man named Arthur Douglas, whose family was killed by Thanos when he was cruising around Earth. Thanos thought that Arthur and his family had spotted him, so just to be sure, he kills them while they're driving through a desert. Mentor, Thanos' father, and Titan god Kronos decide that a champion is needed to bring Thanos' threat to an end. So they take Arthur's spirit and put it inside a new, incredibly powerful body, Drax. Drax's whole purpose in life from that moment onwards is to kill Thanos. Now, during that first appearance, he fights alongside Iron Man and the Blood Brothers, but Thanos manages to escape. Then begins a long crusade of him trying to take out Thanos, while other heroes, the likes of Captain Marvel, the original Mar-Vell, the Avengers, and Adam Warlock go after the Mad Titan, all of whom are seemingly more equipped to do so. Needless to say, Drax has been a major nuisance to Thanos on screen and in the panels. Moving on to number 2, Adam Warlock. Out of all of the heroes in the comics, Adam Warlock is the one who's likely off Thanos the most. He's thwarted Thanos' plans with the Infinity Gems multiple times. The two are practically arch nemesis, with Warlock having faced a handful of defeats by the Mad Titan himself. In the Infinity Gauntlet comic, which Infinity War is loosely based off of, Warlock is the one who ends up defeating Thanos with his master plan. And on top of all that, Warlock is also the one who confronts Thanos and calls him out for being the self-doubting, insecure little bitch that he is. Warlock is all like, I've been inside the Soul Stone, I know you better than you know yourself, and I know you believe you're not worthy. And Thanos is all like, oh yeah man, you're right. And he's so humiliated by it that he actually helps Warlock stop Nebula in the comics by getting the Infinity Gauntlet back from her. How she got it is a whole thing, you should totally read it, it's really great. While Warlock has yet to pop up in the MCU, if Thanos isn't flat out killed in Avengers Endgame, it would be super fascinating to watch these two interact with one another on the big screen in the future. Finally, in at number 1, Deadpool. Arguably, given their history together and the fact that Warlock has thwarted the Mad Titan multiple times, you might think that he would, get the number 1 spot on this list. But instead, that goes to the man who has taken the one thing from Thanos that he's truly ever loved: death. Yes, that's right, the entity Death. The entity who, in the comics, motivates and manipulates Thanos to do all of the terrible things that he does. Death wants the universe balanced, and Thanos does that with the Infinity Gems. Death has also been quite absent from the MCU, with strong speculation that she won't be making an appearance in Endgame despite Thanos' deep-rooted history with her in the comics. Anywho, back on track here. Once upon a time, Deadpool competed against Thanos for Death's affections, and won. Death had the hots for Deadpool. Thanos didn't like that. So he cursed Deadpool with immortality so he could never truly have Death as his own. Talk about major jealousy issues. Death still ignores Thanos even with Wade Wilson out of the picture. And if you've read Infinity Gauntlet, you know how extra Thanos gets over Death. He literally used the gems to create a brand new side chick who looks just like him, by the way, to try to piss Death off, which also didn't work. So imagine his disdain when she's all over Deadpool and not him. The two had a hilarious limited series together called Deadpool vs. Thanos where all of that went down. Alright, there we have it friends. What other superheroes can you think of that annoy the hell out of Thanos? Give us a shout in those comments below and share your thoughts. If you dug this video, please spread the love and hit that like button, subscribe to Top 10 Nerd, share this video with a friend, and be sure to check out our channel and hang out with us some more. We'd love it if you stuck around. In the meantime though, thanks for watching friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.